I want to buy bookish merch. And if you're new and going, girl, just go buy some. Why are you filming complaining right now? In the beginning of the summer, I made a challenge of a bingo board. This is the bingo board. I'll have an actual graphic up on the screen. And I said that my prize for completing bingo was to buy bookish merch. Still haven't completed bingo. I also have not updated this challenge in a while. I have been reading for it. But for some reason, every time I'm really close to a bingo, my brain goes, well, you can't read that book yet. You have to fill out more of the challenge to make it harder. I've been like super close to bingo multiple times, and I am staring at my current board, and if I just read one more book, I get bingo. But that book is nowhere near the top of my TBR right now, of course. Why make this easy for me? I have 6 books to add to this bingo board today. And 3 of them I have already given in-depth reviews in a different video, so I will not go in depth with those. But 3 of them I have yet to talk about on this channel, so I will be going through those. So let's start with the books that I have not given a review for yet. The first one being Rescued by David Rosenfeld. I love David Rosenfeld. I'm actually in the middle of recording another video because I did just get an arc of his newest release, and I'm so excited. So I will have a video of me reading that. But this is a book that I finished in August, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I love Andy Carpenter. I love the Andy Carpenter series. This is a series about a lawyer who really does not want to be a lawyer. He is semi-retired. And each book he gets pulled into a new case, usually because his soft spot is for dogs, and it's either a really heartfelt dog owner, or in this case, the entire case is surrounded by this truck full of dogs heading to a shelter that no one knows where they're supposed to go. My only real complaint about this book is that in his recent books in this series, we've had more of a overarching mystery. So this case, he was working with the FBI, for example, and it feels like this overarching mystery was a little too much to be believable, a little too many. If even just one thing went wrong and he didn't figure this out, we would have had another 9/11, which is a little too much for me to feasibly believe. So it was just a little too much what's it called? A little too much disbelief needed to happen, but otherwise I really enjoyed this case. I love courtroom mysteries. He's the only courtroom mysteries that I have read, and I would love to read more. So if you have any suggestions on some good like courthouse lawyer type mysteries, I really enjoy following that aspect of different cases. Our next book is Frankenstein. So Frankenstein I read very soon after. Well, I read kind of in tangent with Rescued. I listened to the audiobook of this book, and I pretty much only read this because, and I remember specifically in my uh I believe in my initial video for this, I was like, this is it's supposed to be like a summer TBR, and I don't even want to read Frankenstein in the fall. So like this whole line and a cross that has Frankenstein is pretty much dead. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Well, I actually did read Frankenstein. I made Connor buddy read it with me because he's in the middle of his Timeless or Time to Go sci-fi classic series, and Frankenstein was in uh one of it one of his sets of 3 that he's doing those books in. So I made him have that jump ahead and read it with me because I didn't want to read it alone. And I gave this book 2 stars. It was better than The Scarlet Letter in terms of like classics. Like, I would rate this higher than The Scarlet Letter. They both were terrible. Um but overall Frankenstein is the monster. And I don't want to hear any, no, Frankenstein's not the monster. Frankenstein is a scientist. Frankenstein is the monster. Frankenstein, the scientist, is the monster. Um, he had one job, and it was to be a father, and he failed. He saw these dead body parts together and went, ooh. Hold on. Uh, he saw these dead body parts together and went, ooh, when I bring this to life, it's gonna be beautiful. And then it wasn't, and he went, never mind, I'm gonna go pass out for a couple of months. Like, I hated this book. I listened and finished this book with so much hatred for it and just out of spite. Um, and Spencer hated it too because he had to listen with me because I kept it on aloud a lot of nights to try to get through this. It could have been so much shorter if we didn't have all the like existentialism bits, like, and that's what I've noticed about, so the two classics that I've read in this summer actually are both from like the 1800s, and just the way of writing, I don't think it's good. Honestly, like my final thought with Frankenstein is that Mary Shelley needed to go to therapy, but instead she wrote a book. My next book, filling out this nice little corner that we're getting on the bingo board, was The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Now, I just finished this the other day, and I did post a TikTok about reading this. It was the catalyst to my new series about rediscovering romance books. So I did actually give a review about this, but I'll talk a little bit about this in this video as well. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was literally two adults just not being able to talk to each other. Now I am very known for hating miscommunication, and this is not what this book was. There was no miscommunication, and I think that in book reviewing spaces we use the term miscommunication wrong a lot of times. Miscommunication happens because that's life. There's miscommunications in relationships because, in any type of relationship, not just romantic, because based on our own experiences, we understand different things different ways. The way to combat miscommunication is to just talk it out. To be like, hey, what did you mean about that? Hey, this is how I interpreted it. So, a lot of times when books use miscommunication, they're just missing that part of talking things through like adults. And this book was just two adults who were lusting after each other and were too afraid to actually say, I think I too afraid to say I want to date you. Okay, so they had a situationship the entire summer and can't talk about the fact that they want it to be more. And it honestly, this romance book based on just like based on like a specific trope, it feels cheap, it feels overhyped, and this entire series just feels like it's been published way too fast. Books that I have talked extensively in other videos. First being The Scarlet Letter, even brought it up in this book, in this video. I gave, oh my god, I like am having an allergy attack. I'm so itchy today. Okay, this book, Scarlet Letter, I gave, I think, 1 star. Prose is dry and preachy, talks to the reader way too much. Why is Hester apologizing to the pastor? Also, Pearl is a normal child, everyone's so dramatic, but then she is perfect and beautiful. The pastor said the ultimate goodbye just to not be a father, again. So unintentionally funny. Gave this 1 star. If you know anything about the Scarlet Letter, that review would make sense. If you don't read it. It's not worth it. Sorry. It's not. Truly just read this book because I wanted to reread it from high school. I don't actually remember finishing it in high school, but I remember like talking about it a little bit in high school, and also remember watching the Easy A movie to compare it to The Scarlet Letter. And you know what? Good for my 18-year-old self for not actually reading that book in high school, because it wasn't good, and I don't think it's a good piece of feminist literature. God, I'm so negative in this video. Okay. can we get like a book that I've liked? Unfortunately, the problem is that I gave my first 5 stars all summer last night, and it's not even summer anymore. They're all like mid to terrible for me. But the next book that got 2.5 stars is The Cat Who Saved Books. I think that's why I haven't been wanting to, like, part of me doesn't want to finish more of these books, is that I've already given so many of them such low ratings. This bingo board was created from my page by page project, which I'm still actually doing, which I still am actually doing. I just haven't been posting like dedicated videos to it, but it is something that's still like happening. And I'm currently down to pretty much page by page project is my attempt to actually get through my physical TBR. So starting from January 1st, 2025, I have 149 books on my physical unread TBR. I am down to 111 books on that TBR. That does not include any purchases I've made this year because that will all be added at the end of the year and the number will go up. So I'm hoping to get to double digits this year. So I have 11 more books to get through. Hopefully those books come from this bingo board because I would really like. The books on that list I have had for a very long time. Majority of them I've had since about 2020, 2021 when I first got back into reading. I didn't know what I liked. I was buying things just based off of what was popular at the time on Instagram and things like that. So a lot of them don't fit my reading taste. I am finding that books that I actually do purchase now, I rate a lot higher just because I have learned what I do and do not like in books. But these are a lot of the old books that I'm just getting through. So it is causing a bit of a tank in my ratings, but once in a while I do find a gem. No gems were discussed in this video, but once in a while I do find a gem in there, and that is exciting. So I do still want to actively go through my physical TBR because you never know what that one gem can be. And then once I get through this TBR, I do not plan to ever have a TBR as long as this. I say that now, but I didn't expect to have a TBR as long as this in the first place. So, you never know. I think I'm a lot more cautious of how much I am buying now, though, in terms of reading and using my resources, such as the library, such as Libby, better than I was in 2020. And to be fair, all right, The Cat Who Saved Books. I gave it 2.5 stars. I really did not like this book. It is pretty much like the first translated Japanese literature that I did not like. I think it was very pretentious in the fact that if you weren't the perfect reader that was just rereading classics and using Jane Austen as an introduction into reading, you were not a reader. And I did not like that message. And it also, the main message that it gave, the main message of the book was that reading teaches empathy and readers have more empathy. And that is not an insightful or new claim. It's a very known and basic claim in terms of reading, so I didn't like it. 2.5 stars. Finally, and then we can actually talk about the board, was Dinner for Vampires. This book I absolutely loved, but I don't rate memoirs. That was the only issue. Dinner for Vampires is a memoir by Bethany Joy Lenz, and she was in a cult, a religious cult that started as a like Bible study group. While she was actually filming One Tree Hill, which is a cult TV show. I didn't actually finish One Tree Hill, so I didn't know that it was a cult TV show, but her story was so amazing. It was so good. I enjoyed it so much. And I think that it's just a very needed story of how manipulative cults are and how they can just find vulnerable people so easily. So I really, really enjoyed the memoir. Okay, that is all the books currently at the bingo board. So the bingo board currently looks like this. So I have a couple of ways that I could win. I can read The Book of Cold Cases and Tokyo Uno Station. I'm very interested in reading Tokyo Uno Station. Not so much about the Book of Cold Cases. I could also read Tokyo Uno Station and Earthlings. I actually have Earthlings back here with me because I am interested in reading it pretty soon. I don't actually know what this is about, but maybe that is a path that we can go down. This is a really cute cover, by the way. I love the little hedgehog. On the bottom, I could read Outfox by David Rosenfeld and The Yellow Kitchen. I need to read Outfox for my 25 and 25 challenge, which is if I don't finish those books, I have to unhaul them by the end of the year. I already know 2 books on there that I will not be reading and will be unhauling, but that's a surprise for a future video. You gotta wait till the end of the year to get that. So subscribe to see which books I'm unhauling from that 25 and 25. And the easiest win would just to read Kiss Her Once for Me, which would win our diagonal. But am I gonna do that? I want to listen to the audiobook of that book, I think, and I have a hold for it, so I will get it in a couple of weeks. So I'm not sure. I also can read Fence Volume 4, which I am currently in the middle of Fence Volume 1 because I have to reread that book in order to get to the rest of the series. But I do want to read that series. It also would cut down on 3 books on my physical TBR, which would be nice. But I have to get through the rest of the series first. And then Exposure, which is on my 25 and 25, and I don't want to read that book. Wink, wink, hint, hint. That might be on hold by the end of the year. So, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be. I think that my next video for the bingo board is going to be a reading vlog. I've started doing them more. You haven't seen any, but I've started doing them more this week. And I'm having fun doing reading vlogs right now. So it might be a reading vlog. The Yellow Kitchen I bought in London. It's a literary fiction. I don't read a lot of literary fiction. So that could be cool too. I really don't know where I'm going to go next. If you have any suggestions on what I should prioritize, I'm also not against just like really focusing on a different row. I would be down to kind of read any of these books at this point. I feel like A Winter's Promise I want to read in the winter. And A Court of Silver Flames I do need to read relatively soon because it's also on the 25 and 25. But comment down below some suggestions on what I should read next because I really don't know where to go. And I don't mind if this takes a while because I'm just having a lot of fun. I think I'm going to do more bookish bingos in the future, maybe to like focus on a TBR at different times, maybe instead of the 25 and 25 because that has not been my favorite challenge this year, but everything gets reevaluated. This is my first time doing like a challenge like that, so it has been my favorite, the 25 and 25. Been feeling very limited on having a set list to read and just have been having fun going through like this is a very random order that I've done this. Like there is no rhyme or reason. So I'm okay with it kind of like this and doing little boards like this in the future. But yeah, that is where I'm at now. I wanted to just give a quick update so we could really get back into this challenge and see what I'm going to do next. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment what book you think that I should read next. And I will see you in the next video.